What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique of the Fight Guys, and I'm also a Forbes contributor. And I'm talking boxing today, as we often do, talk boxing and MMA. And one of the things that I wanted to start to do is one of the most fun things that we do as sports fans, and especially as combat sports fans. We talk about what ifs. What if this fighter could fight this fighter? What would happen? What would we see as the outcome of the fight? And I'm going to start this up today, and I want to do this on a regular basis. Probably most Tuesdays we'll do this is kind of our what if fantasy fight day. Depending on the level or the amount of boxing news that's out there on Tuesdays, that may or may not happen. But for the most part, we'll try to do this on every Tuesday. And I'll also leave a link to a poll in the description of the video because I really want to know what you guys think about this particular fantasy scenario. So we're going to start this week, and you saw the title in the video, Edwin Valero versus Gervonta Davis. So if there's anybody in the world out here who knows or remembers Edwin Valero, you know that that name kind of brings about a certain kind of feeling. And it's not really the most comfortable feeling. It's almost similar probably to the feeling his opponents may have felt in the ring. It's just this uncomfortable, I want to say quality, but then also this mysterious, eerie kind of scariness to him. For those who are not aware, Edwin Valero was a former super featherweight champion, lightweight champion, a Venezuelan fighter, just ferocious. Really right there on the edge when you watch him. It's just something about looking at him and knowing that there's something different with this particular individual. 27-0 with 27 knockouts. But unfortunately, Edwin Valero was arrested for the murder of his girlfriend. She had been stabbed 3 times. And this happened 2 months after his last fight. And then while he was in jail, while he was in prison, he committed suicide, hung himself with his pants. So he was discovered in his cell after having hung himself. Now, there are some people who suspect or could say that maybe he didn't kill himself, but the death was ruled as a suicide. Valero in the ring was, like I said, absolutely ferocious, come forward style, heavy hands, not much of a what you would call a one punch knockout artist, but definitely a destructive puncher who 100% KO rate, 27-0, 27 knockouts. Didn't have a ton of early knockouts, knocked at Antonio Pitalua in the second round, but most of the time he knocked out Michael Lazada in the first round, but most of the time he wore guys down and finished them. He had a lot of early finishes very early in his career, like I believe like his first, I don't know, looks like maybe the first, wow, it was like the first, wow, it was actually a good number of them were first round knockouts at first. And then when he escalated in competition around the time when he beat Vicente Mosquera, that was a 10th round TKO. So yeah, it was a lot of early finishes early in his career, but those were lower level competition. I mean, if you have to look at this guy and say he's the epitome of what if. What if in so many situations? What if he hadn't passed away? What if this horrible thing that happened that is attached to him hadn't happened? What might we have seen from his career? I mean, he literally was just smashing his way through all of the competition. And there's like I said, a certain mystique that kind of goes with him once he's in the ring and once against certain opponents. So I chose Gervonta Davis to put him against in this fantasy situation because Gervonta Davis is undoubtedly a superbly talented fighter. He has, I think, undeniable power, especially for the lower weight classes. He's a very good quick twitch athlete. And There's still some questions, though. There's some questions with Gervonta. There's some questions about his commitment. There's some questions about his level of seriousness in the ring. Will he reach his potential? Because he does seemingly have the tendency, or he's got a situation where he is running into some negative influences and maybe some stuff that has him distracted. But we're talking about the best of Gervonta Davis based off what we've seen, not looking ahead, but what we've seen of Gervonta, and of course what we saw from Edwin Valero. And if anybody who's not familiar with Edwin Valero, what he looked like, this is what he looked like. I encourage you to look up some Edwin Valero video fights. You can see actually his entire last fight against Antonio DeMarco. That is available to watch on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I just watched it right before I did this. I was very familiar with him, but I wanted to watch a fight right before I did this video so that I could compare him to this man and see who I thought would win between him and Gervonta Davis. Now, you might be a little surprised with my take here, because Gervonta, I believe, like I said, I believe Gervonta would be the quicker fighter. I believe Gervonta is a better overall athlete than Edwin Valero was. But the question really is if the fight were tough and if Gervonta landed huge shots and Valero did not go away and kept coming, how would Gervonta respond in that situation? Because Valero had, for all we can tell, an excellent chin. And here's why I say this. Valero was not really big on head movement. He took shots. And if you watch those fights with him, you'll see he took shots, and he took shots from good fighters. I mean, if you look at the wins over Pitalawa and Nobuhito Hanmo and even DeMarco and Vicente Mosquera, these were good fighters that he took shots from. And these were just not just good fighters. These were good fighters who had proven to have knockout ability. Pitalawa had 47 knockouts in his career. He was 53-7-1 with 47 knockouts. Mosquera wasn't the biggest puncher, but the Panamanian had 18 knockouts and 33 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw. And now Nobuhito Hanmo wasn't a big puncher at all. Only 5 knockouts in 29 fights. I mean, in 29 wins. But these were quality fighters that Valero was finishing and taking shots from. So I mean, I'd have to say these guys had good chin. He had a good chin, but you have to also look at the fact that Gervonta punches on another level as well. So this is why I think it would have been such an intriguing fight. Valero's going to keep coming. He's not going to move his head very much. But Valero's the bigger guy. The height is similar, but Valero had a 69-inch reach. I believe Gervonta's at 67 inches. Gervonta's arms are not super long. He covers distance with his speed, both his foot speed and his hand speed. That's how he's able to get inside on most opponents. And when I'm making this comparison, I'm looking at Gervonta fighting at what we know to be his best, right? We may not have even seen the best of Gervonta yet, but I'm talking about based off of what we know to be his best. And I think that Gervonta has success in the early rounds against Edwin Valero because of his speed, because of his quickness, because of his overall athleticism. But what I think becomes an issue is middle to the late rounds. If Valero is still there and he's still coming forward, he's still punching hard, he's starting to go to Gervonta's body, does Gervonta have enough heart to stay there, take these shots, and still gather himself, recollect things, and outbox a fighter who he's athletically superior to? More hand speed, more than likely better head movement, but there is something draining about a fighter who continually comes forward, can take a shot. That's where the question comes in for me. Like I said, I really want to know what you guys think. For me, I'd have to go with Edwin Valero wins by a late knockout. If Gervonta can hold on, I think he more than likely wins by a decision. I don't think he stops Valero, but I think that he will outbox Valero early, and in the rounds that he's able to avoid taking damage or getting hurt. But I just don't know. I think ultimately Valero wears him down, and I don't know that Gervonta has the kind of mental toughness to come out on top of a tough fight like that against an opponent like Valero, who it can be intimidating, um, because of the pressure, because of his mental state, because of his mental approach to fighting. I mean, if you watch a Valero fight and you listen to people who are around him talk about him as a fighter, his mentality, the way he came into fights, it's borderline. It's kind of scary, and fighting a guy like that can be draining. And I don't know. So I would have to lean towards Valero winning by a late knockout. Like I said, I want to know what you guys think. I'm very interested in see the results of that poll. So make sure you click on to the link in the description, and you fill that out and let me know. I'm really interested in seeing what the results are. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you have not done that as of yet. I appreciate you watching as always. God bless and peace.